Birds are kind of one of our specialties.
Today, we're pulling the curtain back and taking you inside Woodland Park Zoo.
This is a penguin hug.
New exhibits, new animals, and new adventures await.
Ooh! Ah! Oh my gosh!
Right now on Cairo 7.
They are everywhere on all continents, climates, and ecosystems. Some might even be inside of your house right now. Can you guess what we're talking about? Hey everyone, I'm Elle Thomas, and today we are talking about all things birds, because despite being all around us all the time, our fine feathered friends are anything but ordinary. Birds come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, even personalities. Some are romantics and mate for life.
It's love at first sight. They have a connection.
Others get a bad rep for feeding on the dead, but somebody has to do it. From the literal night owls to the wonderfully weird and everything in between, taking care of our fine feathered friends is no easy task. Thankfully, here at WPZ, the old adage is true. Birds of a feather flock together. What do you like more, birds or people?
That's a great question. I guess I have to say the birds.
Birds don't talk back.
Exactly, there's less sass there.
From feeding to cleaning to breeding, today we are learning about the all-encompassing effort to help birds thrive here on zoo grounds and beyond. The true ambassadors representing some of more than 10,000 species found in the wild. About 100 call Woodland Park Zoo home. That is a third of the species they have here. But with so many types, it's hard to know where to start. So to introduce you to all of them, we drew a little inspiration from Dr. Seuss. One bird, two bird, a red bird, a blue bird, wet birds, dry birds, fast birds, sly birds. This one sounds a little shrill. And this one may give you quite the thrill. From here to there and there to here, at WPZ, our fine feathered friends are everywhere. Did you know some are pink? It's because of their shrimpy diet. And some stay awake at night when it's nice and quiet. Some are too heavy to fly, but don't worry, they find other ways to get by. Ostriches and emus, they're the biggest birds on the block. But on land, they'll be anyone in a race. Just set the clock. And from the land to the sea, that's where the flightless penguins will be. You won't see them in the sky, but underwater, boy, do they fly. There are even enclosed spaces where rare birds can take flight. And let me tell you, it is quite the sight. From run-of-the-mill to very rare, all of these birds need special care. So, here to teach you a thing or two.
Oh, are you ready?
We've recruited some of the best keepers at the zoo. Okay, no more Dr. Seuss rhymes, but let's be honest here, the birds are so colorful, they really could be in one of his cartoons. Welcome to the Tropical Rainforest Dome. It is loud, it is lush, and yes, the birds really do fly freely around you. We learned that firsthand. Unique. So you're, ooh, ah, oh my gosh, I just had a heart attack. Okay, sorry, I'm sweating a little. That bright orange guy is called Cock of the Rocks. Clearly, he is not shy, but if you don't see him right away, you'll probably hear him.
They're the showstoppers in this exhibit that you hear during this interview even.
Was that the one that just dive-bombed me?
It was the one, yeah.
He wanted his close-up.
He did. He wants to be on camera too.
So did his lady admirer. This female Cock of the Rock made sure to snag some airtime herself, taking a prime perching spot right on top of our light. I guess you could say being in the tropics, it's a little wild, but then again, so are these behaviors.
So these males are doing their displays right now, trying to impress the females.
Those songs you hear, the bright orange feathers you see, all part of their display. It's what helps them find a mate. And right now, you're looking at peak plumage thanks to breeding season. You'll even catch the zoo's free-roaming peacock strutting his stuff, shaking his tail feathers, and who could blame him? Just look at those bright blue and green feathers. And over at the Wetlands Marsh, we caught this blue-billed duck getting chased around by some rather humble lady admirers. Sorry, ladies, but in nature, the guy birds usually get all the color. The plain plumage, it serves a purpose too. Now, while the men need attention, the ladies, they need to hide. Think of it like nature's camouflage, a great way to protect the nest. While we're in the Tropical Rainforest Dome, it's worth mentioning this is where the smallest bird species at the zoo can be found. Do you know what it is? We'll have the answer for you later in the show. Here's a tropical bird that you may recognize.
Woodland Park Zoo's Toco Toucan. Now, if you've ever had Fruit Loops cereal, you may recall their mascot, Toucan Sam, bright and colorful, just like this beauty.
A toucan's bill is the largest of all birds relative to body size, covering 30 to 50% of its body surface area. Toucans use those bills for all kinds of things, like grabbing food in hard-to-reach places and even helping them find a mate.
Big beaks, flashy feathers, those sweet serenades, that all comes naturally to birds. But for some species, the zoo needs to play a pretty heavy hand in helping them mate.
They use what's called a species survival plan to encourage healthy, genetically diverse, and self-sustaining populations. Think of it this way. They're basically creating a dating profile for each bird, full of genetics, their strengths, weaknesses. Then they start speed dating, presenting that profile to other zoos across the country, trying to find that perfect match.
And we'll transfer that bird around the country wherever it needs to go to kind of produce a new breeding pair. We all work together very closely to ensure that we can maintain these populations for as long as we can.
Think 100 years. Sean says that's the SSP goal, though the ultimate goal is forever.
There are not many of some of these species in the wild, so we need to make sure that we're doing what we can to breed them and make sure that they last.
Those species survival plans are a major focus. Of the 100 or so bird species at Woodland Park Zoo, about 60 have an SSP.
And that includes one of the zoo's most adorable birds, the penguins. A lot like some humans do, penguins like to stick with their partners for life, working together to raise their chicks. And WPZ has a very successful breeding program, one of the best in the country.
Penguins typically lay 2 eggs a few days apart. The first is called the alpha egg, the second, the beta egg. You'll even see eggs marked with an A or a B to help keepers figure out which is which, giving them a way to tell them apart. Kind of like newborn twins.
Now, both of those eggs can hatch, and when that happens, it is a lot of work for these penguin parents. Of course, before we get to that point, the zoo puts in a ton of heavy lifting to make sure that their breeding program is so successful.
Still ahead, we're learning all about our tuxedoed friends.
What's the secret sauce there? How are you guys so successful with that species?
I think just having a focus.
We'll show you how keepers extract DNA from penguin eggs and the crucial yes or no question it answers for their species survival plan. Plus,
did you know you can help out too by feeding the penguins? Yeah, they absolutely love these little slimy fish. Yummy! Here, guys.
And later, we're clearing the air on good birds flying with a bad rep.
We should be so excited and thankful when we see groups of vultures around.
Wait, what? Yeah, stick with us because there's still a lot to learn.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, earlier we asked you what the smallest bird at Woodland Park Zoo was, and if you guessed banana quit, you're right. Good job.
These little cuties have bright yellow bellies, which you can see for yourself inside the tropical rainforest dome. And despite their really fun-to-say name, more than 2/3 of banana quit's diet consists of nectar, not bananas. And from the smallest to the largest.
And Woodland Park Zoo has a couple of pretty well-known flightless birds, the ostrich and the emu. They're similar, but what makes them different?
For one, ostriches are slightly larger, reaching up to 9 feet tall. But when it comes to toes, emus have 3 on each foot. Ostriches only have 2. Both are known for speed, but ostriches are faster. Their strong, long legs enable them to run at speeds up to 40 miles per hour. Emus, they can only reach 31 miles per hour. Besides, who needs to fly when you can run like that? Just like every other animal at the zoo, birds need things to keep them active, curious, and healthy. That's where enrichments come in.
And we want to provide her with the best life that we can, which means challenging her.
As soon as Joanna enters this plush-chested jay's cage,
What are you doing, bud?
she has the bird's attention. The first enrichment, a time-release treat.
Oh, are you ready? Hi, and you can see she's kind of strobing her eyes a little bit. She's a little excited.
The bag itself is an enrichment, ripping it apart. But the good stuff is inside.
Do you like a cricket?
Slowly but surely, the crickets start hopping, and she starts hunting, just like she would in the wild.
She can do with foraging, she can do with just general destruction.
Even our shiny GoPro
Oh man.
is an enrichment. And for this shot, we are more than happy to help. WPZ even has a few enrichments that you can help out with.
We have little silver-side fish here. They are kind of similar to sardines. We just drop it right over the window and they will catch it.
We have a taker.
Leo, there you go. Whoa, nice catch.
Okay, my turn. Step 1, glove up.
We are still taking our precautions against HPAI.
Step 2, step up and enjoy.
Oh, look at him. Look at his little flippers. Hi, buddy, you're so cute.
Okay, one more fish, please. Thank you, Rachel.
These penguins, they are happy and they are healthy. And it's not just because I'm feeding them their favorite snack. You can thank science and a whole lot of strategy.
On the outside, the penguin habitat is picturesque, designed after the rocky coast of Peru, an arid region their wild counterparts are native to. And those white painted peaks? Nope, not snow. That represents piles and piles of guano. Simply put, penguin poop, just like home. Tucked away in these walls, you'll find burrows. On the other side, a room you've probably never seen. It's dark. It's noisy, and it is dripping with actual guano. Yes, it's stinky. And yes, it is just the way they like it.
Penguins are messy. That's just how they live. It's what they thrive in. That's where they like to lay their eggs and they feel safe.
Now, penguin parents, they're protective. But today it's time for a 6-week chick checkup. So wrist guards go on so babies can come out.
So this is kind of Muppet stage. She is one of the 2 that we hatched out so far this year.
A cute, floppy, fluffy little girl, and she is growing just fine.
How much did she weigh?
2286.
She goes back to mom, and they go on to the next. This time, the eggs.
Hi, buddy.
We are going to check their eggs for fertility.
The lights come down, and the flashlights come out.
So this is an infertile egg. It looks just like your egg at home.
This one won't hatch, and that's normal. This one, on the other hand, will.
This one might actually be viable. So now we'll put them back.
At least for now, both eggs go back in the burrows.
We don't want to disrupt them as much.
But eventually, they'll be swapped for these,
So these are resin dummy eggs.
giving the penguins a placebo and giving the keepers the opportunity to take the real eggs back here to the lab. They discard of the ones that won't hatch and run tests on the ones that will, cleaning the egg really well so they can do that flashlight test again. It's called candling.
You can see the embryo still moving, still kicking. It's like, why is it so bright?
Once they find a vein, they pull out a little tool and they start to drill, making a tiny hole that takes a huge amount of focus. From here, it's pretty much like drawing blood. They use a needle to grab some fluid and give the egg a little sealant and a Band-Aid. This process tells them a lot, like if the embryo is healthy and whether it's a boy or a girl. Now here's the hard part. They can't hatch every fertile egg, so if that test shows a problem, they have to get rid of it. And because there are more male penguins than female penguins currently in zoos, if it's a boy, they have to get rid of that egg too.
If you have things that are out of whack, like the sex ratio where there's just super male heavy and that causes an unnatural imbalance that can again cause disharmony in your entire colony. That bird's quality of life is not going to be great, it's going to be subpar. We try our best and this is all part of that. You have to make a lot of difficult decisions and we ultimately have a responsibility to do what's best for these birds, for the individual and for the population as a whole.
Once they hatch, some of those chicks stay at Woodland Park Zoo. Others get sent to other zoos. Remember those dating profiles? Well, this chart kind of acts like a matchmaker. It's a ranking system, allowing them to keep tabs on the different birds, their genetics, and that ideal mate.
It all comes down to the individual and population. And it's like, okay, we have to do the best we can for the individual. What does that look like? And then how does that fit into the SSP population?
It's a hard process, but it's because of all of this that you get to see all of this at the zoo.
Hi, Bubba. Watch out, buddy. Oh, I know. You want to... Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
The attention seekers,
And that's Julio.
the wallflowers,
Londo's coming up behind you. He's a little suspicious.
the troublemakers,
Food sometimes. So.
and a few wild ones.
Hi. Hi. Let's go back outside.
Each and every penguin,
Wee.
chock full of personality
Hey, buddy.
and a whole lot of love.
Just a big old penguin love fest.
Thanks to the zoo's efforts, 90 penguins have hatched since the program began in 2009, all contributing to a healthy gene pool and a brighter future for all of these penguins. Now, for other birds, it can be a different story.
We even have some birds at the zoo that are extinct in the wild and wouldn't be here if it weren't for zoos keeping these and breeding them.
There are 9 critically endangered or endangered birds at Woodland Park Zoo. So unless you visit, there's a good chance you will never see them in person. Scientists point to habitat loss as a top threat for these threatened species. But there is some good news. Visiting the zoo doesn't just give you an opportunity to see these amazing creatures. It also supports Woodland Park Zoo's conservation efforts.
We want to make sure that these species stay with us forever.
And forever? Well, it has a nice ring to it when you're treated to sounds like these.
There are lots of noisy birds at the zoo. You may even hear kind of like a honking sound right now, but these guys, they are most famous for their bright pink color. We're talking about flamingos.
They make a honking sound, and they dance to communicate. It's how they find a mate. Groups will even march together like a big flamingo line dance. They get their characteristically pink color from their food, shrimp. But we do have a few myths to bust here. Flamingos, they can fly, and their legs, they do not bend backwards. They actually bend like human legs. What looks like their knee is actually their ankle. Their knees are way higher up and hidden by their bodies.
Well, if any species needs a little myth busting, it is this one right here. Regina, who do we have here?
This is Modoc. He's a 37-year-old turkey vulture.
Oh yeah, we are talking about vultures, and after the break, we are going to clear the names of some good birds with some bad reputations.
And if you think you're familiar with parrots, think again. This guy is called a Kia, and like most parrots, he mimics humans, but not with words. Can you guess what human-like noise a Kia makes? We'll listen to see what he has to say in a few, and see if you're right. Welcome back. A few minutes ago, we asked you what human-like noise does a Kia make? For the answer, let's go straight to the source. That's right. The answer is D, scream. Kias are a type of parrot, and they are considered endangered. And while they scream, they're actually named after another call they make. Sometimes, usually while flying, they make a kia type of sound. So yes, they are a real scream. Literally. But there's nothing scary about them. Speaking of scary, have you ever been up close and personal with a vulture or any bird of prey?
Pop culture, it has been a little unfair to raptors, so we are more than happy to give them just a little bit of screen time to help break down those barriers.
They're the villains in movies, lurking in the night with sharp beaks and powerful talons, ready to swoop in and attack. Even the name could give you chills. Birds of prey. And they are on the hunt.
Good boy.
Boy, were we wrong.
He's got the best chit-chattery baby noises.
Meet Buddy.
His favorite activities include hanging out with his keepers, just like this. He also enjoys munching on his favorite snack, which is something we call Mises Pieces.
This 11-year-old Pharaoh Eagle Owl is an ambassador animal, meaning he loves people, and being around him, it's a real hoot.
Here in the US, they tend to be very mysterious. And people may question that because they just are hard to see and they're not out and about in our daily lives. Usually the look on people's face when they get up close to an owl for the very first time it demystifies it in that moment. You can see just the awe on their face when they get to meet him up close. I mean, even yourself, you were mystified by his eyes when you first saw him, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen an owl in real life before.
Yeah, it's a pretty special experience.
But we wanted to put this good behavior, bad bird rep to the test.
You good?
Yes.
So we asked the keepers to bring out another, and this one was just a little intimidating. Kept under lock and key, tethered at the foot, a tight grip and piercing eyes.
Yeah. Oh, you're fine.
Yep, they got us again.
Oh, that's nice.
This is Gunner, a 14-year-old red-tailed hawk.
Gunner was actually born in the wild. Unfortunately, in his very first year after he fledged the nest, he was hit by a car. He was unable to be released back into the wild because he's blind in his left eye. So we like to say he's all right. Sorry, I had to do it.
I mean, what's so cool about this is he genuinely got a second chance on life here at the zoo.
He did.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
This second life is a good one. And if you are lucky, you'll even get to see him take flight, his starring role in the Wildlife Theater show.
Well, when you see one of these guys circling in the sky, you might think it's bad news, right? No. How would you describe Modak here?
Modoc is super smart and very sweet.
See, so it is all just one big misunderstanding.
They get rid of carcasses that would spread disease, and then after a good meal, they like to spread their wings, basking in the sun. Of course, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't just a little nervous of Modoc here at first. But hey, at least I'm consistent.
Yes, very happy.
From the spooky to the sweet, the tiny to the tanks, the airborne to the swimmers. In the avian world, every single bird has a song to sing. And Woodland Park Zoo is making sure those songs are heard for generations to come.
I think just an appreciation for birds is what I'm really striving for here. Even just watching in your backyard, you're amazed at how many different species if you stop and watch and look. So hopefully these ones here are a little more colorful, but give that same appreciation and make you just stop and think about what might be in your backyard.
Well, that's all we have time for, but we so hope you enjoyed learning all about our fine feathered friends. Now, don't forget, there's still so much to learn, and you can catch all of our previous episodes on KIRO7.com/zoo. But let's enjoy some flamingos.